Hello and welcome to another episode of the Starchild podcast. I'm Starchild, and today we will be discussing what I am led to believe is the commercialization of Hollywood and the films that are made in Hollywood in the LA region, Los Angeles region. My diagnosis of Hollywood is this: as the film budgets became overly inflated, the quality of the films decreased. It's really that simple. Um, uh, the average film budget in the 60s was roughly $2 million per film, and that's adjusted to today's inflation. And today, average big Hollywood films range, on average around $100 million plus. So, and the big franchise films are hundreds of millions of dollars. So, as their budgets grew over the decades, I think the quality's just decreased and decreased. More people get involved in the film. More opinions weigh on matters that really don't need, teams of people discussing. And so I think a lot of the art gets lost with big budget films. So the incentives really changed over the years as their budgets grew. I wanted to talk about this because Martin Scorsese brought this up in recent interviews when he was promoting his recent film, The Irishman. And I share pretty similar views, where a lot of independent filmmakers they're not really given the chance because of lack of funding, because a majority of the money is going to the big franchise films. And people are smart. People see this and understand this. And that's a big reason why less and less people are going to the theaters to watch movies, because the qualities are just, it's not as good. I've seen probably a half dozen, I would say, big franchise movies, and it's essentially just the same movie over and over again. That's my take on it, at least. Today we have a situation now where you're able to watch endless content from your living room with streaming services. And so, because of this, audiences also aren't going to the theater as much as they would. So it's kind of a combination of the quality of the films that are being made, the lack of funding that is being given to independent filmmakers, and streaming services making it that much easier to just watch endless content from your couch or wherever you watch it. And lastly, the prices of movie tickets have also gone up exponentially, driving a lot of people away from going to see them in the cinema. The largest Hollywood studios right now are Disney, Warner Brother Pictures, Universal Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Sony Pictures, and Lionsgate Films. In my opinion, these aren't film studios. These are commercial studios. They make 2-hour-long commercials that are trying to sell audiences something, sell audiences a sequel, or whatever product is featured in the movie. They're not expressing, emotionally intelligent stories. I don't believe, and audiences deserve better, quite frankly. So in the end, it's really up to the streaming services to provide the appropriate funding to independent filmmakers so that they're able to make emotionally intelligent films that audiences do deserve. Just share the love, you know? I don't think franchise films should be the vast majority of films that are being made today, and especially with budgets that, you know, can exceed hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think movies should cost even anywhere near that amount. I prefer smaller films that are made with smaller crews and smaller budgets. You stretch your creativity more when you don't have $100 million at your disposal. With $100 million, I feel like a lot of filmmakers just say fuck it. You know, not in a good way either. You know. So I hope that the streaming services come to their senses, and we as audiences get to experience another film renaissance here in America that happened around, you know, in the 60s, in the early 70s, when independent filmmakers were actually given appropriate funding by Hollywood studio execs that gave them a chance to make these kind of daring movies. You know, it's how we got Star Wars. It's how we got Zoetrope, which was made up of Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg in San Francisco. They were given a chance, you know, and we got great movies because of it. But less chances are being given to independent filmmakers nowadays, and it's a real damn shame. And it's due because of the commercialization of Hollywood. It's all about the bottom line rather than being about the art and the quality of the films that are being made. And I believe that audiences deserve better than that. So lastly, I just wanted to show a clip of Martin Scorsese kind of summing this up, what's kind of happening and going on, and what the future might be, because he's been in it for 50 years now, you know, 5+ decades. So he's seen the progression and the changes and kind of where it's going. So here we go.
Can I ask about this general conversation people are having about the decline of cinema generally, that there aren't enough films out there that really illuminate the soul? Mm-hmm. And I'd like to ask you what filmmakers and films that you've watched relatively recently that still inspire you and give you hope for the next wave of filmmakers.
It's hard for me to keep up with a lot, but Joanna Hogg's films, for example, I like some of the wildness of the Ben Wheatley pictures. There are so many coming out of England, I think. Lynn Ramsey. There are really a number of wonderful films. My fear, more than fear, my observation is that the filmmakers of substance need support.
Yeah.
And the problem is the amusement park films. The problem is that, which is something that's been pointed out for the past number of years now. But now I think, in effect, they've got real cinema on the run, so to speak. It's very difficult for films of substance or attempted, how should I say? I don't want to use the word personal vision, but I have. It doesn't mean it's not entertaining, right? But these projects, where can they be shown? Where can they be shown if the theaters are taken over by the well-made, beautifully made, animated pictures, in a sense?
Animated pictures.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I was saying this in New York, and people were saying, "Well, you don't like those films." It's not that I don't like them. First of all, I haven't seen many. I tried to, but I wasn't interested. The thing about it is that they seem to be creating. It's another form. It's another form, and their theaters are almost like amusement parks in a sense. So these films now, I think, are more like theme rides, in a way, and it's a different experience for an audience. Now, that audience could also appreciate narrative film. Narrative, or a narrative could be a film that could be made by the Turkish filmmaker Ceylan, or as I say, Joanna Hogg, different types of pictures that don't necessarily depend on heavy special effects and how should I put it, comic book heroes.
So these big franchise films are kind of a genre in their own right. My opinion is they shouldn't be the vast majority of films that are being made and shown in theaters and streaming services. What people see is, what a lot of people see is just what is on the front page, essentially, of their streaming service, whichever they watch. And that kind of terrifies me, because there's a lot of great cinema out there, and it just takes a little bit of research and digging on the internet to find some really great films. So don't rely on the front page of Netflix or Disney Plus to tell you what to watch. Be a little bit daring and watch a foreign film or watch a older film that doesn't have thousands of layers of CGI put on top of it, where the art then gets lost. So my hope for the future is that the funding of the film industry gets shared to independent filmmakers a little bit more than it has in the past. That's all I really ask. So, because I think audiences in the end deserve high quality films. I mean, it's going to be 2020 here, people. So, support local cinema, support small movie theaters, drive-in theaters, if you're lucky enough to even have one of those near you. If you're a filmmaker that wants to make a movie, I think now is one of the best times actually to make a film. Cameras are the cheapest that they've been. You can find cast and crew much easier now with the internet. Link up with them, and make the movie that you want to see. Make the movies that you want to see get made. So that's my take on the commercialization of Hollywood. I hope you might have learned something. I'm Starchild. My website is starchildgallery.com. My information will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.